Welcome to GenVisibility interview series. We bring visibility to our genesis, geniuses, genealogy, generosity, and gentleness. You may feel isolated or alone, but you are not. We are a vibrant, thriving, creative, and amazing community. We are adventurers, trendsetters, and trailblazers. If you want to be part of GenVisibility, please submit our form by visiting our website, genvisibility.com. Your voice matters, your story matters, and we cannot wait to see you shine.
Hey, Andrew.
Hi, Rachel. How's it going?
Do you remember that one time we were on TV together?
I do. That was pretty cool.
So, very quick out of context background for the folks. So, I guess as the interviewer here, I just want to say, welcome to everybody logging on. As a fellow queer person, hello. So, I want you to just kind of tell me about your identity and, what is being trans to you? What does that mean to you? And, how would you explain that to younger folks?
Being trans to me is just understanding that there may be a disconnect in my brain and my body, and accepting that that's okay. And just doing whatever I need to do to make myself feel the way that I want to feel and look the way that I want to look too.
Okay. Tell me a little bit more, because we're good friends. As background for everyone watching or listening, me and Andrew actually met through our activism work. We met on a day where we were canvassing house to house, telling people about PrEP for Planned Parenthood. So if you don't know what PrEP is, can you explain what PrEP is, Andrew?
Yeah.
Kind of a tangent?
Yeah, sure. PrEP is cool. PrEP is a pill that you take every single day, and it reduces your risk of contracting HIV by 98%, which is it's really important to be able to educate people about healthcare, especially as a trans person. I feel we get really left out of a conversation, especially surrounding HIV. So it's a really cool opportunity, a little side tangent, to be able to go door to door and talk about that.
Mm-hmm. For sure. That's really important, especially in the queer community, to know about. So yeah, me and Andrew have been buddies for a couple of years now. And how did you come out to me? Because when I met you, you were already Andrew. You didn't go through a transition in front of me because you were, you're already Andrew. So I already knew your pronouns, and you were how did you come out to me? I don't remember how it happened, so.
I think I might have, I don't know. I think I might have just casually mentioned something about testosterone, and you were like, what? And I was like, yeah, I take HRT, I'm on hormone replacement therapy, whatever. And you were like, oh, okay. The gears shifted a little bit, but that was weird. I think that was the first time I'd ever came out to someone, but after I had already been out, which is that was a weird experience. But you're accepting, so.
Okay, so that leads me to my next question, which would be, tell me more about your coming out experience.
So I've come out a multitude of times.
When you know you were trans, when you knew, and you first said it out loud and all that.
I think, well, when I was a sophomore in high school, I had met someone through Tumblr that identified as non-binary, and I had never met, or even I had no idea what non-binary was. And after talking to them for a while, I thought oh, you know what? That might be me. I don't feel like a girl. I'm not a girl, whatever. And I came out to a few of my friends from school and told them hey, you can still call me by this name, but we use they, them pronouns. And they all took it really well. And then based on more reading and meeting more, trans masc people, I was oh shoot, this is what I want. And I remember I was staying the night at my aunt's house because I was babysitting my cousins, and I was trying to fall asleep and I just couldn't. And I was I have to tell somebody, I just have to tell someone. And so I told one of my friends from school. I was you know what? I think I'm trans. I just I don't want to be a girl. I want to cut my hair. I want a beard. I hate the name that I have. I want something else. And then I came out to my parents the summer before my junior year. And then the night before my first day of school, my junior year of high school, I came out on Facebook and Instagram and stuff. And yeah, I'm here now.
How was that being in high school?
It had its ups and downs. It was pretty like I was in a weird situation because I grew up in a really like small conservative oil and gas town. I had never met a trans person in real life. I'm that I know of. I was the first person to come out at my high school and to change my name in the system. The students were pretty nice for the most part. I mean, I didn't really have a lot of friends to begin with, so the friends I did have were really nice. But one thing that was definitely an issue was the fact that like I couldn't get my name changed in the school system for a really long time. And so like when teachers would take roll and they would project it like on the whiteboard, it would like have my dead name on there. And that was really rough for a long time. But there at the end, like it was fine. A lot of people forgot about it. It became old news. So it worked itself out, but definitely interesting.
They forget easily.
Yeah.
Okay. So what else should we talk about?
We can talk about like my family's response if you want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's important.
So I came out by writing them a letter, and I left it in my mom's bed before they went to bed. And the next day she like came up to me and she was like, yeah, you know, like I read your letter and like, that sounds good to me. And I found out recently that she didn't give it to my dad for a couple days, which is like kind of weirds me out a little bit. But it was such a big learning process for both of them. It probably took my mom like 3 or 4 months to start using my pronouns. She used my name the whole time, but it took a long time for her to use my pronouns and to get used to it. And it took my dad probably like 6 months. So like that was really hard because I understand like it takes practice, but it was just like, it shouldn't have taken that much, I feel like. But other than that, like no real complaints. Like they supported me starting testosterone. They supported me through my name change process. And they're really supportive now and like really up to date with like learning things, but definitely a rough start.
Well, I'm glad that you at least had a supportive environment. What advice would you give to those that don't have a supportive environment when they're trying to?
I always like want to push people in the direction of like queer community, because like the best part about like being trans and being queer is that like we just have that inherent community, you know, and inherent love and support. And like I've gotten so much support from people that like live halfway across the country that I don't know, and like being able to seek that, and also knowing that like it's not always that like it's not always personal, and it's not always like your family has a problem with you, and sometimes it's just like they're not educated, and it's not always your obligation to educate them, but that, you know, there is hope for change always.
That's a great message. I love that. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about passing and the choice to be out. And yeah, that subject, because I think passing is a really important topic in general, just that word. Can you just elaborate?
Yeah, for sure. I think passing is really tricky. First of all, like I have a problem with the word passing, because it's like, if you don't pass, then are you failing as a person? Or are you like failing as a trans person? But I think like passing is ultimately just like the expectation that like I have to look like a cis person. You know, I have to like, people have to see me and see me as like a cis man. And like, that's really harmful. I think in my experience, it's been really harmful for me, trying to fit in this box that like other people have given me, instead of just being like, I look how I want to look. Like I grow a beard because I like how it looks, not because I want to look like a man, you know? And like, it's hard too though, because like some people don't really have the option to like be out as trans when they do pass. And they go what like a lot of people call like the stealth route, because that can be like a safety thing, you know, being like, well, you know, I look the way that I want to look. People see me the way I want them to. Like, I'm just never going to talk about being trans because I don't want it to be unsafe. But like for me personally, like on my own experience, like that is not the route for me. Like I like being trans is who I am. Like that's such a big part of my life. And I want to be able to share it with people because it's like, it's not that I'm like hiding something, but it's just like not, it's unfair for me to not share part of who I am if I'm like trying to connect with people, you know?
Mm-hmm. I was just having a thought about people being out and then people who quote unquote can't be out because it's unsafe. I think the more people are out and the more people are proud and the more the queer community just shows that love and support, it's just the more widespread it is, the more widespread people are being out and proud, I feel like the more safe our world would become. So if anyone is closeted or listening to this, like, come out, you know?
I agree. I think
you.
I really wish that like when I was, 15, 16, that I had another like trans masked person in my life. Just because it was like, I just felt like I was blindfolded, and just like trying to figure all this out by myself and like not knowing like what was right and what was wrong. And I don't ever want someone to feel that way. And if I can, help alleviate that simply just by being out and by being who I am, like, I will happily do that.
Heck yeah. I really like this initiative, what's the word I'm looking for? This visibility initiative, so that people, if they are seeking, someone to look up to, they can have a whole place to go to for inspiration and just support, which is really lovely. Do you have a feminine side? And if you even call it that, and how does it ever show up?
This has been the biggest battle for me, is like having this like low-key aversion to anything like glittery and pink and frilly and just from like being forced into that box for so long. And now that it's like, this probably started like a year ago when I started going to a lot of like EDM concerts and shows, and seeing like lots of other really like masculine dudes just like wearing crop tops and having like glitter on their face and stuff and being like, okay, well, like he can do that. People still see him as a man. I can do that. And so it's sometimes with the way I dress. I mean, obviously not really right now as I'm wearing my baseball t-shirt, but it's definitely working on it. I've been like, probably like 9 months ago, I painted my nails for the first time in like 10 years. And that was a huge thing for me. I haven't in a long time. My nails are disgusting right now. But I think that's been a big push. I really want to find like a good balance between like pushing myself to things that I like previously hated, but also still like staying true to like what I'm comfortable with. And understanding that like doesn't affect my gender identity in any way. Like I can wear a bright pink shirt and that doesn't automatically make me a woman,
Yeah, absolutely. I think that breaking down those gender stereotypes in that binary of if you do this, you're a girl, and if you do this, you're a boy. I think that just breaking down those standards is so important.
Yeah. And that goes back to passing too, that like passing is just kind of the expectation that like you have to adhere to those norms and you have to do all those things, but like just do whatever the heck you want. Like do what makes you happy,
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the takeaway message here. It's like, do what makes you happy, but stay safe.
Stay safe. Absolutely.
Let's see. What else? Do you feel like you have gained status by becoming a man? And do you want to talk about the medical aspect of your transition?
Yeah, so I'll start with the status thing. That's something that I've also been really trying to work through, especially in November of 2020 with all of the crazy events that we have had this year. Like really finding my own privilege. I think I absolutely, as I pass as a male, like I have a lot of privilege with that. One thing that comes to mind is like when we could go out to restaurants, I would always get the check, which is just such like a nonchalant thing. Always happens. Or like when we would go in to get seated, the person that would be like seating our table would immediately look at me and like talk through everyone else in our group. Like, Rachel, you've been there. Like, you've seen that happen. The last time that we ate at a restaurant, like, I think it was like right after our other friend ordered, the waitress like looked at me for confirmation, and then after you ordered, she looked at me for confirmation. Like, what is that?
Yeah, I don't think people do it on purpose, but it's like a subconscious thing. Servers will they will put the check in front of the most male-appearing person at every table, and then if there's, a male-appearing person in a group of people, that's who they ask how many's in your party. It's wild.
Yeah, and that's like never a thing that used to happen. I mean, that honestly just started happening probably like a year or two ago. So that was a weird adjustment. And like another thing that comes to mind too is like with my activism stuff, when I'm on a call with a legislator, like my co-directors who are both women, they can say something and the legislator may or may not shoot it down. And then I can repeat the exact same thing that they said. And then they'll be like, that's a great, brilliant idea, Andrew. Like, wow, on board. We've never heard that before. Like, just not even listening. It's like my voice sometimes has more power. It's louder than other people's voices, which is like, it's frustrating to see. And I'm frustrated with myself for not identifying that was a thing earlier, like I wish I would have been able to see my privilege from, the time I was a junior, senior in high school, not just like a year and a half ago.
I feel like you do a really good job now, at least, even if you didn't then, at lifting other people up and having other people's voices be heard, and like especially those who don't tend to not be heard often.
Thanks. I try.
Take space.
Yeah, take space, make space. Yeah. So let's see. I started testosterone in 2017 in June. So about almost 3.5 years on T, which is crazy to say out loud. That's been a wild journey. Lots of things that they don't ever really tell you about. When you go to that first consultation, lots of emotional changes for sure. I really, really don't know exactly what I want in terms of like gender confirmation surgery. Like the idea of like a top surgery, love it. Like I would love that so much. But seeing a lot of people in my life that have had it and hearing like how painful it is after and how long and grueling the recovery is, like that scares me a lot. But also like I want it so bad. But definitely first on the list is the hysterectomy because whatever's happening is not fun and I don't enjoy it at all. And yeah, uterus. I'm telling you, yeet the uterus. I would love that. But again, it's like also with COVID, like I have no idea when any of that's going to happen. Like
hospitals are full. What a weird time we're living in.
Yeah, hospitals are full. All of my money is going to this education. Like I don't know when I would have the time to be able to like cut out, a whole month of recovery. And then also like I live alone and we're living through a pandemic. So I like I would feel bad. Like I wouldn't have someone to stay with me all the time and like take care of me and stuff. So it's like, I don't really know, but in the future, that's something that I definitely can start preparing for that now,
Okay. How old are you now?
I am 20.
You're 20. And how old were you? So you were 17?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you were 17 when you started T. Do you wish that you would have started before puberty so you didn't necessarily have to go through like a second puberty type deal?
Yes and no. I feel like if I would have known that would have been an option, I would have loved that. But honestly, like, it's kind of funny joking about the fact that like I've been going through puberty since I was like 11 and like nonstop. So it's kind of worth it, but like that's part of it. I can deal with more acne. Like I can deal with being very stinky. Like that's fine.
That's awesome. So what do you want to do with your life, and why is it teaching? And feel free to elaborate on how you feel about any of these answers. We'll start there.
Yeah, so I want to teach. I'm in school right now for elementary education. I just like when I went into school, I really wanted to do social work just because I wanted to help people. Like, as cheesy as that sounds, it's all I wanted to do. And then I realized like teaching is like civil service. Like they are the front line, you know? And like growing up, I only had like 2 or 3 male teachers, and they weren't super awesome masculine role models. And like, if there's anything that,
That's so common.
yeah,
Sorry.
oh yeah, it was rough. And so like, I want to be that so bad, you know? I want my young male students to see like, oh, I can be a man and I can still have emotions. Like I can still cry. Like I can still be compassionate and helpful and do all these things. And also like I want that for my queer students to know that like, especially like my young trans students, that like, oh, like I can live a full life too. Like I can be an adult with a job that people respect. Like that's like, again, like visibility is so important, and I want to be able to contribute that and be a good role model, I hope.
Heck yeah. Let's talk about some of your passions and hobbies, and what do you wish that you could do that you cannot do?
Ooh, okay. So first, let's see. I love music. I play music. I make music. That's a lot of fun. It helps me get distracted from my homework. Some of my passions, like I love politics. I didn't know that until probably like 8 months ago, but I love like getting with a bunch of people and like writing a bill and then like calling legislators and then like calling a bunch of people and being like, hey, we need you to do this. We need you to like write a letter. We need you to call a senator, and doing all that stuff and like putting my hands in the legislative process. Love that. I also like being outside a lot. I like to camp with my friends a lot. Rachel and I went camping like a month and a half ago. That was a lot of fun.
I would suggest.
Yeah, highly suggest camping. One thing I can't do that I wish I could do. When I was in middle school, I could like kind of skate, and then I fell really hard, and I was really embarrassed about it, so I didn't pick it back up. But I would love to get really good at that. I think that'd be cool. I want to be Tony Hawk.
I would also love to be Tony Hawk when we grow up. When we grow up. When I grow up, I can't speak. I'm sorry. Okay, let's talk about love. Let's talk about friendship, community, and how love is so key to happiness, and also how all that is going for you. I'll stop there because that was a lot.
And so obviously I have cool friends. Y'all are seeing Rachel right now. She's pretty cool. I think
It's so important having a community,
yeah,
like a loving, accepting community. That is really key to happiness.
yeah, I agree. Being able to like be around people and to love them like unconditionally, and then in return understand that like you are also valued and being able to be loved unconditionally, like that feels so dang good.
Mm-hmm. Heck yeah. Do you like boys or girls or both?
That's a really good question that I don't know if I have an answer to. Both?
That's
Neither? Some of each? I don't know. That's
true. Gender is not real. So.
yeah. It's not.
So yeah, I identify as pansexual. So to me, genders are real. So yeah, but you knew that. Yeah, but what I like about you, Andrew, is that you're so easy to talk to about all this stuff. And whenever you do encounter someone that is like less educated about queer issues and all that good stuff, you're very good at educating them and, bringing people into the conversation. Yeah. I just had a random question on this situation. How would you advise younger people that come across nosy people, like the situation?
Yeah. Just an anecdote. Might want to blur out that name. But nosiness. So one thing that comes to mind that I know that I just laughed because of this one. I'll go into it later. But as a trans person, the question you get the most is like, when are you going to get the surgery? Or like, what's in your pants? Or like, what did you look like before you came out? What's your dead name? Like all of this stuff. And there was one particular instance when we were driving back from an activist training in Santa Fe, New Mexico. This one individual, one of my friends actually outed me to her unintentionally, but they outed me, and she proceeded to ask me all of those questions, but just like multiplied. Like, oh well, but like, if you want, like, why aren't you going to get like a phalloplasty? Like, why don't you want that? Like, why don't you already have top surgery? Why didn't you do that when you started T? Like, all of these things, like, oh, can you pee standing up? Like stuff like that, just like ridiculous. Like, we're in a car, like we can't just like pull over and make her walk. Like, there's nothing we can do, And so it's like I can laugh about it now just because of like the absurdity of it. But like the advice I would give is just to laugh about it, because it's just so ridiculous that like so many people are oblivious to personal boundaries and oblivious to like I wouldn't ask Rachel, "Hey, what's in your pants?" Like, can you pee standing up, Rachel? Like, that's weird. That's so weird. Like, what? And I do also like want to add that like, feel it out. Like if you're really upset about somebody asking you that, be upset. You are entitled to be mad.
Tell them to not ask those questions in the future, so that another person doesn't have to endure that very uncomfortableness.
Mm-hmm. And I do understand like that type of conversation is so scary, because like you never really know if it's going to end up becoming dangerous, or becoming like physically threatening. But when it's like some rando messaging you on Facebook or something, be like, that's inappropriate. Like, I'm not going to answer that. Please don't ever ask someone else that. Like, that's not okay.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. It's the nosiness is what, that's the one thing that just really like, I don't understand how people think that's okay.
When it comes to nosiness.
Yeah. And another thing that comes to mind with that is just like, a lot of cis people expect the one trans or non-binary person in their life to be the entire encyclopedia of gender, Like, that's one thing that I really happened to me a lot when I was in my hometown, like still in high school, is like people would be like, oh, well, about Caitlyn Jenner, like she's trans too. Like, will you answer all these questions I have about Caitlyn Jenner? Like stuff like that. Like, and it's like, when you're in that position, I would recommend just being like, I'm not Google. Like, I only know about my life and my experiences, and like, don't ever feel obligated to tell someone anything, like, ever. Like, being trans can be a very public thing, and like, you're so allowed to keep whatever parts of your life private. Like, you're so allowed to do that.
Absolutely. Privacy is important.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. Especially like living in this weird virtual world where, really the only way that we connect with each other is through online stuff. And it's like
Zoom calls.
Yeah, Zoom calls. Yeah.
What else? We've covered a lot in a hot minute.
Yeah. We could talk about like I can talk about the trans mask camp that I went to back in last winter. It was I got to go on this little weekend retreat, and it was just for trans masculine people. And for like 3 days, we just talked about like what our genders meant to us, and like our journeys, and like the privileges that we gain by being trans men or trans, like in that vicinity of things. That was really cool. It was really awesome being able to just like make more community too in the state, and seeing like there's a lot of people like me in New Mexico, And that's like, again, visibility, so important.
Like, yeah. Okay, so your top 5 things that you wish you would have done differently, and like your advice to go along with that. So like top 5 like tips for you, especially for young people. Well, since this is for young people, for the young people.
I think first and foremost, I would not feel as obligated to constantly defend myself for doing what made me feel best. Not constantly answering the questions of like, why'd you cut your hair? Like, oh, so you only shop in the men's sections now? Like that kind of stuff. Just like not like, I'm not obligated to answer that.
Be more unapologetic.
Yeah, more unapologetic. I think honestly advocating for myself more there for a while, I really took a lot. Like when I was in marching band, I wasn't allowed to have a men's uniform for some reason, even though like they fit me better. And I didn't like stick up for myself at all. And like, I knew nothing was going to change if I didn't. So I wish I would have done that. So the advice to go with that is like, don't be afraid to advocate for yourself. Like you are your number one fan. Yeah, I think number 3 would probably be to build better connections with like the other younger queer people in my community. We had a really cool like weekly teen support group with a lot of younger, like they were all in middle school and I was in high school. So I really, really wish I would have been a better role model to them. And really like, I wish I would have taken the time to get to know them and really like be their friend and not just be this guy that thinks he's all that in a bag of chips on Wednesday nights. I wish I would have done that differently. So the advice with that, like make connections. Like you never know who's like watching what you do, and like you never know who's looking up to you. And just like being mindful of that. I think I don't know what number that was, but I think one last thing would be to just like live even bolder. I think I did a pretty good job, but I feel like I definitely let a lot of the people in my life like define my gender for me and like define my experience for me. And I wish that I would have just like done whatever I wanted and like really lived through that. So the advice with that is just like be bold.
Heck yeah. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
I see myself hopefully in an in-person classroom and out of the virtual world. Snaps for that. I don't know if I see myself here in Las Cruces or somewhere else. But I definitely see myself with a cat, maybe a dog. I see a much more like put together person and a lot more like a more emotionally vulnerable person too.
That's awesome. What is your favorite joke?
That's a really good question, and I'm so glad you asked. I'm trying to think of one that would be super appropriate for this call. Will you come back to me with that?
Oh man, sure. I didn't really have anything else.
I can tell a joke while you think of an appropriate joke.
Yeah, tell me a joke.
Let's see. What did one ocean say to the other ocean?
I don't know.
Nothing. They just waved.
That's pretty cute.
What do you call a sad strawberry?
I got nothing.
A blueberry.
That's really sad. That's good. I don't know. I got nothing. Drawing a blank. Knock knock.
Oh, who's there?
Boo.
Boo-hoo.
No, you don't gotta cry about it. It's just a joke.
Boo. Great. I love it.
Cool. Well, thanks for talking to me today.
So just a quick wrap up for everyone watching. You are valid however you appear right now. You're amazing. You're beautiful, and you are so loved. Even if it's just from the queer community,
if you're feeling excluded, just know that you have a giant community worldwide actually behind you. So I hope that can cheer someone up.
Yeah, you are so loved. You matter so much, and no matter who you are or how you feel, like you have a place in the queer community, and you belong in this world. And your existence is revolutionary.
Heck yeah.
Thank you for being here and for listening. We hope you are feeling inspired to share your own experience and reality. If you like this video, please share it. You can follow us and hear about our latest video on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And please subscribe to our YouTube channel. And remember that you are valued, you are loved, we see you.